My friends, good day. The Louvre has just been robbed. It happened a few minutes ago. And what happened is that some people came in right at opening time, just in the minutes after it opened. They put a ladder against the building, managed to get in through a window, smashed display cases, and then left with jewelry. They dropped some of it while escaping, but most of the loot was taken. Actually, if you look at people who work in bank security or even supermarkets, you don't even need to go as far as the Bank of France. They'll tell you that the most delicate moments for the security of a building like that are either when it opens or when it closes. Because there's a gap. There's a moment when you switch from one mode of operation to another. And that's the most critical moment for thieves to strike. So, with this story today, there are basically two options. I'll tell you about them. There's the, let's say, optimistic option, which is that this theft was ordered by someone. That means a collector went to see, he said, I want this, and it was stolen specifically for him. Why? Because there's one thing that's clear. Jewelry of this kind, jewelry that's well known, photographed, that has been displayed in the Louvre, excuse me for saying so, you can't just go and sell them. You can't just go to Barbès with them in a bag, go to a fence and say, well, here you go. It fell off the back of a truck. That's how we got them, but it doesn't work. These are jewels that are impossible to resell, impossible to fence. So maybe they were stolen to order. That means someone, a collector. Sometimes there are paintings, there are things like that which have been stolen and kept by collectors, sometimes for 30 years. And it's only generations later that they were discovered and returned. That, if you will, is the, let's say, optimistic part of the story. The other part is perhaps more sinister than that. They're just gold thieves. The price of gold has skyrocketed, hasn't it? And then with the price of an ounce today, what are we going to do? We're going to have thieves who are getting bolder and bolder. Who are going to target it? Actually, it happens very regularly nowadays. Who are going to target churches? Who are going to target artifacts, museums? All that, why? Because it's much less guarded than a bank. You're not going to steal gold from a bank. You're not going to steal it. At Van Cleef and Arpels, because it's guarded, there are cameras everywhere, armored display cases, agents there in suits, and maybe even carrying a gun, right, under their jacket or something else. You can't do anything, right? So they're going to look for where it's most accessible, where it's the easiest. So instead of going to steal copper and selling it by the kilo, what we can do is steal gold and sell it by the kilo. So at that point, it goes to a fence, a jeweler who will take the gold, put it in a mortar, smash it, crush it if you want, then hit it with a blowtorch and it will become liquid. And from there, he can make rings, pendants, all that, and that's it. Those are the two options. So there are people who said that these thieves are pros. I don't really see the professional side. It's not, but they even left a helmet behind apparently when they fled. They dropped Empress Eugenie's crown. By the way, just between us, just in passing, you know my beliefs. Back when that bitch wore a crown so heavy that thieves dropped it and couldn't carry it off, well, children all over France and Navarre worked inside factory chimneys to clean them from the inside. Children who weren't even 10 years old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old children worked in coal mines, destroying their lungs in coal mines. At that time, there were regions in Europe where the life expectancy for this population, lifespan was about 17 years. People died at 17. At 20, you were already a grandfather, a dinosaur. Just to let you know, why am I saying this? Why am I bringing it up? I have to, my friends, this is a chance to talk about these things. Well, every day is a chance to talk about these things because this kind of thing defines and shapes our lives all the time. We always need to be aware of it, all right? So I was saying that the crown, they made it full. It was found cracked or broken, but jewelry is easily repaired without a trace, so it's not an issue. But the rest was taken away. So I was saying that there are people who say we're dealing with ultra professionals. I don't see any ultra professionals in this story, honestly. Bold people, yes, it just took some boldness. I don't see them having used any special technologies. They didn't fall from the sky. They didn't rappel down from a helicopter flying at 1,000 meters. They didn't dig a tunnel under the museum and then suddenly appear over a long weekend. You see what I mean? No, no, they're more like smash and grabbers. They came running with a big hammer, they smashed, they took what they could, and they left, knowing that a museum isn't really watched. If you look, there's something, the relationship between what's inside, right, between the value of what's inside and the security, well, that ratio, from a thief's point of view, is really bad for a bank, really bad or pretty bad for a jewelry store. But for a church or a museum, it's, well, that's where they strike most easily. Because there you're in a system where there's very little surveillance, very little risk of getting caught or getting shot. But then there you go, you get an incredible return. So in my opinion, they stole the heaviest jewelry, the ones that contain the most gold. So at that point, we're probably in the worst case scenario that maybe while I'm going to press, the blowtorch is already melting those pieces of jewelry. So we don't know, maybe we'll catch them, I have no idea, maybe in 3 hours or maybe in 3 months or maybe never. It's not simple. When you have a country that's plagued by crime, like France is today, the police don't really know where to start. There's no way to relax for even a second. That kind of thing, they created in Abu Dhabi and in the Emirates, a sort of extension of the Louvre museum. So they made a kind of Louvre over there. And then because when you go to the Louvre, it's a huge museum. A large part of their collection isn't visible to the public because, quite simply, there aren't enough exhibition spaces to show it. So what the Emiratis decided to do is to borrow part of the collection and display it at the Louvre in the Emirates. I guarantee you that over there, no one even thinks about stealing. It just doesn't happen like that. I don't know why, but, well, it's just something that doesn't happen. It's like when there are women who tell me that when they're sitting at a cafe terrace in the Emirates, they leave their phone and their bag on the table and they go to the restroom and come back. You don't need to bring it. No one will steal it. It's like people who keep their vehicle in a supermarket or a shopping mall or somewhere else. And then they throw the keys in the glove box, or they even leave them in the ignition and they walk away. No one is going to steal it from them. You see, that there are peaceful societies and there are societies plagued by crime in all its forms. It's a choice. It's a civilizational choice. It doesn't happen by chance, if you will. It's just we choose one kind of society or we choose another. That's all. It's simple. It doesn't happen by chance. The person in charge of security at the Louvre, who will probably be under scrutiny in the hours and days to come, is someone who, it seems, is the first woman, isn't she? She's the first woman who has been recruited for this position. Note that I'm not criticizing, but it seems that she gained her experience during you've forgotten them, I'm sure, during the Paris Olympic Games. Who remembers the Olympic Games in Paris? Does that ring a bell, the Paris Olympic Games? No, it just appeared. It's easier to remember the Lillehammer Winter Games, isn't it, than the Olympic Games in Paris. It was just last year, you see. Billions were spent, including 1.4 billion just for swimming in the Seine. Okay, and what did we do? We handed this over as a platform to all the lunatics from the Parisian underworld, so they could use it as a stage for outrage and insults to those worldwide who skipped or didn't watch the games. Billions in advertising revenue and tourism benefits for France did not materialize because these games were taken hostage, you see, and then that's it, and they fell into oblivion. For your information, today there is a company called Matcar, I think, or Carmat. No, actually Carmat. Strange name, though. Do you know what they do? They make artificial hearts in France. There's real genius in France. Carmat. Yeah, Carmat. That's my final answer, Jean-Pierre. Carmat. They make things, artificial hearts. There are people who need them. There are people, it's necessary. There are people who wouldn't make it without them. You know what happens? They're going to go bankrupt. They're short 34 million. Compare that to 1.4 billion or 1,400 million swimming, bathing in the Seine. You know what I mean? There is no economic problem. There is no economic problem in France. Zero. There is a problem of priorities. There are civilizational choices that are heading towards destruction. There is vandalism happening at all levels. That's it. So, my friends, we'll see in the coming hours, but it still feels pretty insulting. Because remember, there is news, if you will, that has a greater symbolic and actual impact than others. Yes, French people are scammed daily on the street. Yes, there are French people whose houses are occupied by squatters and all that, and they can't do anything about it. Yes, that exists, but it doesn't go international. Meanwhile, Kardashian arrives and gets robbed at home, her jewelry stolen. That happens worldwide, causing millions in losses. Because there are a lot of tourists, especially those who think Paris, be careful, don't set foot in Paris. When people start to see that even the Louvre gets robbed, you see, and then their jewelry gets stolen and everything, that goes around the world. Everyone, the whole world is talking about it. And that ends up tarnishing the image of the country, knowing that even if they get caught, they'll still get away with it. There you go, just a slap on the wrist. There you go, my friends. It's sad. It's a sign. It's a sign. I take it as a sign, actually. I take it as a symbol. Anyway, I'll leave you here.